Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
You all don't sound enthused on being here today. I'm the one that's tired. I just flew in this morning at 10 o'clock this morning from Florida. We were down, hoping to win our 7th national award in Parks and Rec. Unfortunately, we did not win this year. We got beat out by Kansas, but we were a finalist, so I'm extremely happy about that. But I am more excited about the men and women that work in our park and recreation and the hard work that they do every single day, that we even made it to be a finalist against Kansas, Virginia, and one other state. So I am excited about the outcome. Hopefully next year we will bring back the gold, as the conference will be in Philadelphia. So we will be tightening up our bootstraps and making sure that we're doing everything possible that we do come back with that gold medal. It will be our 7th. And I think we are the longest having the amount of medals in the nation, so I'm excited. So with that, good afternoon, everyone. This is, we will now call the September 18th Planning Board meeting to order. We have the following board members with us today: Commissioner Washington.
Good morning.
And Commissioner Giraldo.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am Chairman Barnes. We will now move forward with the business at hand. Please note that the deadline for all participation pre-registration and all submission materials and exhibits was 12 noon on Tuesday before the planning board meeting. Staff is available today for on-site registration or if you require any assistance. Please note that beginning on October the 2nd, 2025, the planning board meeting walk-in speaker sign-up will no longer be permitted. Now we will move on with today's agenda. The order of cases for today's meeting is as follows. Item 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. 14 has been removed. Thank you, Joe. The next item on the agenda is item 2, draft minutes of September 11, 2025. We look for a motion of approval of the minutes of September 11th.
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
It's been properly moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We will now move on to the next agenda item, item 3A, legislative updates and approval. Mr. Smith.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Board. For the record, I am Shaquan Smith with the Planning Director's Office. Today I'll be presenting item 3A on the agenda, Amendment 15 of Council Bill CB 15, 2024. Next slide. The Planning Department has provided a memo with comments on the proposed Amendment 15 to CB 15, 2024, pursuant to a court order issued on June 2025, the County Council was required to transmit Amendment 15 to the Planning Board for review and comment prior to the court-ordered District Council public hearing on the amendment, which would be held on October 7, 2025. Next slide. The purpose of the proposed amendment is to amend CB 15, 2024, Draft 3, and roll back Amendment 13 by eliminating the restrictions for residential development on CGO properties located outside the Capital Beltway, which I will further discuss in the upcoming slides. Next slide. On July 16, 2024, the Prince George's County Council met to discuss CB 15, 2024 and the floor Amendment 15, introduced by Councilmember Harrison. As previously mentioned, Amendment 15 sought to roll back Amendment 13, a proposal identical to the Planning Board position transmitted to the Council on March 5th, 2024. This is sometimes referred to by Council as the Planning Board's compromise position. Next slide. And Amendment 13 preserves the current zoning ordinance use permissions, which allow two-family, townhouse, and multifamily dwellings to be built by right on CGO property located within the Capital Beltway. However, the uses were prohibited in CGO zones located outside the Capital Beltway unless approval of a special exception on property or areas of a building property zone CGO that total less than 25 acres, or of a planned development zoning map amendment on property or areas of adjoining property zone CGO that were 25 acres or greater. Next slide. Amendment 13 was later expanded as CB 43, 2025, which is now pending before a PHED committee. CB 43, 2025 is similar to Amendment 13 with changes to the acreage limits for residential developments in the CGO zones, lowering the threshold for a special exception, planned development rezoning from 25 acres to 20 acres, and applying the proposed restrictions county-wide instead of only having limitations to properties on or adjoining CGO property located outside the Capital Beltway. Next slide. The proposed legislation was reviewed and assessed by our planning staff, and feedback included that previous comments on the related topic has been included in several reports prior to this memo, such as the technical staff report and transmittal letter for LDR 40, 2024, the PHED committee on April 17, 2024, item 14, as related to CB 15, 2024, and the technical staff report and transmittal letter for LDR 63, 2025. Next slide. The department found legislation connected to Amendment 13, including the proposed bill CB 43, 2025, is not consistent with the legislative amendment decision standards specified in Section 273501D of the zoning ordinance, as amendment is not uniform for each class or development throughout the CGO zone. Instead, establish different treatments for identical uses based on the size of adjacent land parcels without providing any justification or public policy rationale for such disparities. Next slide. Additionally, standards of Amendment 13 and the proposed CB 43 are unnecessary for effective implementation of development policies outlined in the relevant area master plans and sector plans, as previously detailed in the technical staff report of LDR 63, 2025. In fact, these actually conflict with many such plans and other county department policy documents, such as the 2015 Prince George's County Retail Market Analysis and the 2016 Prince George's County Retail Marketability and Competitiveness Study. And Amendment 15 simply reverts CB 15, 2025 to the requirements of the CGO zones as existed prior to the enactment of CB 15, 2024. Next slide. The CGO zone has always been intended as a mixed-use district that permits various commercial uses and higher density residential options, promoting residential developments near commercial areas. Allowing multifamily, two-family, and townhouse dwellings in the CGO zones by right without additional procedures or costs will fully realize the zone's intent, promoting mixed-use developments and diverse housing options in Prince George's County. Next slide. Based upon the foregoing evaluation analysis, the Planning Department's legislative team recommends that the Planning Board adopt the findings of their support and support Amendment 15 to CB 15, 2025. And this concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions.
Are there any questions from the Planning Board? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff's report and support Amendment 15 to CB-15-2024.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We will now move on to the next agenda item, item 3C, Parks and Recreation item, land purchase agreement, addition to Little Paint Branch. We will now hear from Mr. Sun.
Good afternoon, Chair Barnes, members of the Planning Board. For the record, my name is Paul Sun, Land Acquisition Specialist, Department of Parks and Recreation. Next slide, please. We're here today to request approval of a land purchase agreement for a 170-acre assemblage of property known as Addition to Little Paint Branch Stream Valley Park. This is a bi-county acquisition, as the property is located in both Prince George's and Montgomery counties, mostly in Prince George's. There's a slight, roughly 14% that's in Montgomery. The property is bounded to the north by the Intercounty Connector, Maryland 200, and Old Gunpowder Road, to the east by Briggs Cheney Road, to the south, and generally located in the Beltsville Silver Spring area. Next slide, please. By way of background, the Cross Creek development was developed in the early 2000s as a golf course community. Around 2018, the golf course closed and has not been open since. Next slide, please. The former golf course property is bifurcated by Little Paint Branch Stream, which flows obviously into the larger Paint Branch. It's environmentally sensitive. And it's close to Fairland Regional Park, which is just on the north side of ICC. Next slide, please. Beyond all the environmental features, there are many improvements, which I will go into greater detail. The former golf holes are now naturalized, and there's about 5 miles of cart paths, which are good for walking trail uses. The property also contains a clubhouse, 25-meter outdoor pool, and combination pool house and maintenance building, 2 tennis courts, and a parking lot to serve these facilities. Next slide, please. A quick photo tour of the property. You can see images of the former golf course, the walking trails, and Little Paint Branch Stream. Next slide. It has a 2-story clubhouse and 150 space parking lot. Thank you. Next slide. The interior of the clubhouse contains meeting rooms and offices, along with a commercial kitchen. Next slide. Connected to the parking lot is a 25-meter outdoor pool, a pool house, and a maintenance yard facility which served the former golf course. There are also 2 tennis courts on the south side of the parking lot. Next slide. Justification of acquisitions are many. Properties contiguous to existing park properties in both counties. The ICC trails at Cross Creek Local Park. Tremendous natural resource benefits, preserving and protecting the stream. DPR staff did do a tremendous amount of due diligence, not just within our own division, but also aquatics, northern area maintenance, facility services, to name a few. With all that extensive due diligence, our interest in this property grew from our initial impressions, and we believe that we have a very exciting opportunity before us. With all these facilities, there are methods to provide facilities that would otherwise not be available. So one more slide, please. So using our acquisition criteria, we evaluated the property and it scored 76 points out of 100 points. So, next slide, please. So like I said, after all our due diligence, DPR staff recommended purchasing the entire property as is at a price of $2.6 million. I should note that this acquisition will be funded with the program open space funds. Thank you. Lastly, to summarize this exciting acquisition at unbelievable value, next slide. It's 170 acres of open space, 5 miles of open trails, clubhouse and parking lot. Next slide. 25-meter pool house, maintenance yard, and 2 outdoor tennis courts. DPR staff recommends your approval of this purchase agreement. Should you decide to approve this purchase agreement, we request that this resolution be added to the consent agenda for later today. This concludes staff's presentation. Are there any questions?
I have one question, Mr. Sun. When we looked at this property before, when you brought it, and we gave you authority to negotiate it, there was some discussion as to how would we divide the maintenance of the property between our staff and Montgomery County, and the costs associated with it.
Yeah, that's something we'll need to work out, and it's not different. We have, Fairland Regional Park to the north and Gunpowder Golf Course, so it's going to be similar to that. Obviously, we're not spending, county taxpayer dollars on the Montgomery County side, but we do have, several parks that are by county as well.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the commissioners? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the land purchase agreement for the addition to Little Paint Branch Stream Valley Park.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you so much, Mr. Sun. The next item on the agenda is item 3D, Parks and Recreation item, grant of storm drain easement, Merkirk Park. Mr. Howard.
Good afternoon, Chair Barnes and fellow Planning Board members. For the record, my name is Edward Hawley, planner for the Department of Park and Recreations. In acknowledgement of today's robust agenda, I will try to present my case as swiftly as possible. We are here today to request approval for the granting of a storm drain easement to Prince George's County at our Merkirk Park property. Next slide, please. Merkirk Park is located west of Baltimore-Washington Parkway, north of Merkirk Road, and approximately 1,000 feet east of Mount Pleasant Drive in Laurel. Merkirk Park is bounded to the north by Montpelier Hills Community, to the west by Montpelier Elementary School, and to the east an undeveloped portion of the Montpelier Hills community. Next slide, please. In 2010, the adjacent owner, Parcel W, granted a storm drain easement, the area shown in yellow, to Prince George's County for construction of a storm drain system to support their development. Next slide, please. Prince George's County is now requesting an extension of the existing storm drain easement for the outfall of public stormwater. The subject area of today's presentation is on the north side of the park's flag lot shown in red. Next slide, please. The easement area shown in red will be 998 square feet or 0.23 acres. Concurrently, DPR's engineering section has approved the applicant's request for a right of entry permit for this work area. Next slide, please. The addition of this storm drainage outfall will help collect and channel runoff through the existing storm drainage system, helping to alleviate potential flooding onto the Merkirk Park property. The inclusion of this storm drain easement should not have any impacts on future park development or programming. There is no cost consideration for the granting of this easement. Next and final slide, please. DPR staff recommends to the Planning Board approval for the granting of this easement to Prince George's County. Please note the granting of this easement will be subject to final approval by the full commission. This concludes staff presentations. Any questions?
Are there any questions from the Planning Board? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the grant of storm drain easement for Merkirk Park.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you so much, Mr. Hawley.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is item 3E, Parks and Recreation, item grant of stormwater management easement, Patuxent River Park. Mr. Sun.
Good morning again, Chair Barnes and fellow Planning Board members. For the record, my name is Paul Sun, Land Acquisition Specialist, Department of Parks and Recreation. We're here today to request approval for a granting of a stormwater management and access easement to the city of Bowie at our Patuxent River Park. Next slide, please. The area under consideration is in a linear parcel of our Patuxent River Park and located approximately 1,000 feet north of Maryland Route 50. Next slide, please. In 2008, as part of the approval for the Melford development, known today as the Maryland Science and Technology Center, the developer donated approximately 93 acres of land connecting to Patuxent River Park. Next slide. 2 stormwater management easements are being requested as existing stormwater management facilities from the Melford development outfall onto and across our property and ultimately into the Patuxent River. Next slide. 1 easement will be 4,388 square feet. One more slide. The next easement will be 2,217 square feet. One more slide. The 2 easements are rather minimal and required for the city of Bowie to access and maintain the existing stormwater management facilities. There will be no cost considerations for the granting of these easements. Next slide. DPR staff recommends to the Planning Board approval for the granting of these easements to the city of Bowie. This approval will be subject to final approval by the full commission. This concludes staff's presentation. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions from the commissioners? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the grant of stormwater management easements, Patuxent River Park to the city of Bowie.
Second?
It's been properly moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We will now move on to the next agenda item, item 3F. Parks and Recreation item, land disposal, Nally Road Park. My good friend is Mr. Sun is back again.
I'm still here.
Busy today.
For the record, my name is Paul Sun, Land Acquisition Specialist. We're here today to present a land disposal for a portion of our Nally Road Park. Nally Road Park is a 35-acre park located on Nally Road, and it's generally 3/4 of a mile southwest of the Prince George's County Sportsplex, just to give you guys an idea of roughly where it is. So next slide, please. Some of the park parcels were acquired in 1994 using program open space funds from the Maryland Department of Natural Resources. In 2002, DPR reached an agreement with the Board of Ed to allow the construction of Cora Rice and James Golston Middle School with the use of 8 acres of property. Next slide, please. One more slide, please. So in return, the Board of Ed conveyed 10 acres of property at Willow Hill at Nally Road, about 3/4 mile south, and it's known today as Willow Hills Park. Next slide. And here's an aerial picture of that park. It's undeveloped. In 2019, DPR staff obtained approval from DNR for a POS conversion for the 8 acres on Nally Road. And with that approval, a land conversion for the 8 acres was released and replaced with POS covenants, and is now placed on this Willow Hills Park. So next slide. So I'm pleased to report that all these records have been replaced and updated in the county's land records. One more slide. So here's a map of the 8 acres that the school has been constructed on that we are proposing to convey out to the Board of Ed. DPR recommends to the Planning Board approval of this land disposal request, and the disposal will be subject to approval of the full commission.
Are there any
Any
questions? Are there any questions of Mr. Sun? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the land disposal for a portion of Nally Road Park as presented by staff.
Second?
It's been properly moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you so much, Mr. Sun. We will now move forward to the consent agenda items, items 4D and 4E. Is there anyone who wishes to oppose staff's recommendation on the consent agenda item? Is there any board member who wishes to discuss these items?
Mr. Chairman, after consideration of the record for item numbers 4D and 4E, I move adoption of the staff findings and approval of the items on the consent agenda in accordance with the recommendation of staff.
Second?
It's been properly moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you so much. We will now move on to the regular agenda item. The first item on the agenda is item number 5. Preliminary plan of subdivision PPS-2022-009 Tulip Meadows. We will now hear from Mr. Bartlett.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, I am Jason Bartlett with the subdivision section. Item number 5 on the agenda is preliminary plan of subdivision PPS-2022-009 titled Tulip Meadows. This subdivision proposes 29 lots and 5 parcels for townhouse development. This application is supported by an approved certificate of adequacy under case number 80Q-2022-024. As a matter of housekeeping, the additional backup includes one exhibit submitted by the applicant prior to Tuesday's noon deadline, which has been entered into the record as applicant's Exhibit 1. Applicant's Exhibit 1 is a request for a revision to the wording of Condition 6 of the recommended conditions of approval. Staff is in agreement with this revision with the addition of language that defines stress reduction measures, which the applicant is in agreement with. The revised conditions shall therefore read as follows. At the time of detailed site plan, the applicant shall minimize the limit of disturbance and/or provide stress reduction measures as defined by the Environmental Technical Manual to the extent feasible to the critical root zones of a 23-inch diameter at breast height southern red oak and a 23-inch diameter red maple located on adjacent parcel D. These trees shall be shown on the landscape plan along with the proposed mitigation measures, which may include but not be limited to monitoring of tree replacement if required. In conclusion, based on the findings presented in the technical staff report, staff recommends the planning board approve this preliminary plan of subdivision PPS-2022-009, subject to the findings and conditions in the technical staff report, as revised by applicant's Exhibit 1 and as further revised by staff and read into the record. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bartlett. Any questions of staff, from the planning board for Mr. Bartlett? No. Seeing none, we will now hear from the applicant's attorney, but before you start, David, if you could swear him in.
All persons seeking to address the board on this matter, can you stand and raise your right hand? Virtual as well.
Council.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Chair Barnes, member of the Planning Board, Abdullah Hijazi here from the law firm of Hijazi and Carroll. With me today is our senior land planner, Mr. Eddie Diaz-Campbell, and other members of the civil engineering team. I believe Mr. Dunlap and Mr. Hargis are logged on. Also available, if any questions arises, Mr. Lenhart from Lenhart Traffic Consulting. We are very happy to present this project in an area of the county that hasn't had much new development in decades. This is at the corner of Sheriff Road and Bellhaven Drive. It's adjacent to the Bellhaven Apartments. Across the street, there is a small 7-Eleven. Palmer Park is on the east side. It's a vacant parkland. And the Village Green townhomes and Palmer Park townhomes are across the street and on the other side of the Palmer Park vacant parkland. We are proposing 29 townhomes here. This is zoned RMF 20. The zoning allows up to 20 dwelling units per acre. We're proposing 14.8 dwelling units per acre. We have a certificate of adequacy of public facilities with nothing having failed. There are conditions that were in there for BPIS and transportation issues, which we are addressing and are shown here. We're consenting to all the proposed conditions that were proposed by staff, with the one change that was alluded to by Mr. Bartlett. It's the condition number 6. And I have communicated with staff as to their revised language as to what we had proposed, and we are consenting to that. It is in item 5 of your packet in case there are any questions about that. I want to close by thanking staff for all their hard work on making such a tight project and tough project come to fruition.
Are there any questions of the applicant's attorney by the planning board?
I have none.
Seeing none, I believe that no one is signed up in opposition to this. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve preliminary plan PPS-2022-009, subject to the conditions as outlined in staff's report, and condition 6 as modified by applicant exhibit number 1, and is further modified by the language that staff read into the record.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
up.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a companion item, item number 6 and item number 7. Item number 6 is a detailed site plan DSP-22017, the Herman Apartments, and item 7, DDS-24003, the Herman Multifamily Apartments. We will now hear from Ms. Sun.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Board. For the record, I'm Meng Sun with Urban Design Section. Item number 6 and 7 is detailed site plan DSP-22017 and DDS-24003 for the Herman Apartments. The detailed site plan is for the development of a 145 multifamily dwelling units with associated infrastructure and amenities. The departure from design standards is for reduction of the standard's non-parallel parking space size from 9.5 feet by 19 feet to 9 feet by 18 feet. Staff find the proposal meets the findings of granting departure and as outlined on page 25 to 27 of staff report. The application also has a companion alternative compliance application, AC-25009, which is requested from the buffer width requirement of Section 4.6, buffering development from streets of the 2010 Prince George County Landscape Manual. The application also has submitted 2 variants to allow a 22% increase in the maximum percentage of net lot coverage from 40% to 62%, and to allow a 22% decrease in minimum percentage of green area from 60% to 38%. Staff find the variance request meets the findings of granting variances as outlined on page 27 to 35 of staff report. As a matter of housekeeping, staff received applicant Exhibit 1 prior to Tuesday noon deadline. The exhibit shows the applicant provided answers to the 8th Precinct, Civic Associate, and community members in response to questions during a community meeting held about the project. The exhibit has been included in the record. Based on evaluation and analysis, urban design staff recommend that the planning board adopt the findings of this report and approve detailed site plan DSP-22017, departure from design standards DDS-24003, alternative compliance AC-25009, type 2 tree conservation plan TCP2-023-2025, and variances from section 27-442C of the prior zoning ordinance, subject to the recommended conditions of approval within the technical staff report. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Is there any questions from the planning board for Ms. Sun?
I have none.
If not, we will.
Chair? All right. Just a real quick question. The staff presented on the DSP, and then does that include your presentation on the DDS as well? Are we hearing both those?
Yeah, I mentioned the DDS.
Did you mention that? Okay.
Yeah, DDS request is to reduce the reduction of standards of non-parallel parking space size from 9.5 feet by 19 feet to 9 feet by 18 feet.
Sorry. Thank you.
But good catch.
It's
terrible
afternoon
catch.
hour.
I dropped the ball.
All right, let's try this again. Being that there are no questions, we will now hear from the applicant's attorney, Mr. Tedesco. But before you speak, David, if you can swear him in.
All members seeking to speak on this matter, all persons, virtually and in the room, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Board. For the record, Matthew Tedesco with the law firm McNamee Hosey and Greenbelt here on behalf of the applicant Community Housing Initiative Incorporated, represented here this afternoon by Mr. Joe Byrne and Mr. Rob Byrne, who are in the audience. The owner of the property and joint venture partner on this project, Mount Zion Pentecostal Church, AME Church, Pastor Boyd is also here with us this afternoon, all of whom are obviously very much in support of this application. Making up our team from Land Tech Corp, we have Ms. Kim Morgan in the audience. Online, from Studio K Architects, we have Charles Keener, Mike Lenhart Traffic and Consulting, and online from my office, Dominique Lockhart from my law firm. Not with us, but also played a hand in this application is our associate attorney, Carly Landolfi, who assisted and worked with your staff quite extensively, along with Ms. Lockhart, on the variance request that Ms. Sun mentioned. I do want to take a moment of courtesy to just acknowledge Ms. Connor, Ms. Garland, and Ms. Sun for their efforts in this application, bringing before you a staff report that we are in agreement with. We've had further conversations with your staff about a couple of conditions recommended by them, which we are in agreement with, that have been further clarified and did not need any exhibit to modify or amend those. So we are in agreement as understood in prior meetings we've had with staff on some of that clarification. Just briefly, I just did want to mention we did provide in your record some Q&A that we provided to the 8th Precinct Civic Association, which is a community that we met with extensively on this project. Those meetings go back to 2020, 2022, and 2023. Obviously, also working very closely with Senator Augustine, who I think, Mr. Chairman, you know quite well, is very, very, very active in his senatorial district, and we've been working with him quite closely on this project. This is an affordable housing project with respect to an apartment building for 145 multifamily units. We feel like it is a much-needed development in the county. I don't think there's any debate that the county and the region need more affordable housing options. The Herman offers and will provide high-quality, affordable housing for rents not to exceed, for residents not to exceed an AMI of 60%, within walking distance not only schools but 2 metro stations. I would just iterate the fact that we have requested a departure associated with this application being heard contemporaneously with this detailed site plan. Just for the record, we would note that the parking space departure really aligns with the parking spaces of the current code. This board has approved similar departures for many multifamily projects under the prior zoning ordinance, and so this is not in any way inconsistent with that. And finally, with respect to the variances, we do believe that the property meets all the required findings for the variance. We did preserve whether or not the variance was even needed in this application, given the fact that this is a tax credit LIHTC development pursuant to the code. It was somewhat debatable whether the lot coverage and the green area requirements were even applicable. In the abundance of caution, staff felt that it was. We preserved that argument. We've submitted for the variance, and I think all the findings have been made by and recommended by your staff. With that, Mr. Chairman, we would simply submit on the various justification statements that have been provided in this case. There are many, one for the detailed site plan and the departure, one for the variance, and then one for the environmental and the alternative compliances. So we would incorporate and adopt as further testimony here today those documents and respectfully request the board's approval of these applications. And again, thank staff publicly for their efforts. We met many times on this one, so I appreciate it.
Good. I don't see anyone who has signed up in opposition. Are there any questions of Mr. Tedesco by the commissioner?
I'm just wondering, is the rendering that you show, is that the way the building's going to look? So it looks kind of plain.
No, actually, if you look at your staff report, the two-dimensional renderings are far more detailed, and the staff did an excellent job on page.
Page 25?
Hang on, your indulgence. Actually, page 8. It went through all the contemporary mid-rise multifamily residential style. The facade composed of 5 stories, tripartite-based middle top expression, lighter appearing material including vinyl-clad siding. Facade design features wall offsets in the form of projection, recess in the facade plane, along with facade color alterations. The building facades will feature siding veneer in 4 distinct colors, materials thoughtfully arranged to create visual appealing patterns and prevent monotony in the exterior appearance. The gabled roof feature above the central section and mansard roof above each projected bay add a traditional element to the contemporary design, while the flat roof and building provides a modern functional aspect. So maybe it's not rendered as well as it could have been, Commissioner, but we do feel and we agree with staff that the building design and materials as well as the fenestration and articulation will be a welcomed amenity on that corridor.
Okay. I asked because I've seen projects like this done in Alexandria, Virginia, and you would never, I mean, they're affordable, but they put some real effort into the design of the project so it doesn't look monotonous.
Yeah. I think the plans and I think staff's review would agree, and we would agree that that will be the case in this instance as well.
Now, I know it's too small for a dog park, but you're going to have dog waste stations?
We actually will have a dog park.
Oh, you will?
We do,
Oh,
yes.
that's
We
even
do.
better.
We do have a dog park. I was remiss not to highlight that, and please forgive me. I know better.
And I'm learning that as well.
Yes, there will be a dog park and waste stations associated with the amenity package.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Geraldo. My apologies.
Looks like you're on the right track then. Well, is there a motion on these companion items, item number 6 and item number 7?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve DSP-22017, AC-25009, TCP2-023-2025, and variance to section 27-442C, subject to the conditions as outlined in staff's report.
Second?
It's been properly moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion on item number 7?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve DDS-24003.
Second?
It's been properly moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We will now move on to the next agenda item, item number 8. preliminary plan of subdivision 4-25006 Landover Metro by Miss Van,
To do.
Matanduce.
my favorite person.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the board. For the record, I'm Mahsa Vatandus with subdivision section. Item number 8 on the agenda is a preliminary plan of subdivision 4-25006 titled Landover Metro. This subdivision proposes 2 parcels for the development of 275 multifamily residential dwelling units and transportation use. This application is supported by an approved certificate of adequacy, ADQ-2025-010. Staff has not received any exhibits or correspondence prior to the noon deadline on September 16, 2025. Staff note that the applicant sent the informational mailing and notice of acceptance mailing to all municipalities within a mile of the subject property as required by the prior subdivision regulations. This proposed development requires filing of a detailed site plan, at which time additional notification mailings will be sent out by the applicant and a referral will be sent by the planning department, which will provide the municipalities with an additional opportunity to comment. In conclusion, based on the findings presented in the technical staff report, staff recommend that the planning board approve this preliminary plan of subdivision 4-25006, Type 1 Tree Conservation Plan, TCP 1013-2025, and a variance to Section 25-122B1G for removal of 1 specimen tree, subject to the findings and conditions in the technical staff report. This concludes the staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from the staff's report?
No questions.
Seeing none, we will now hear from the applicant's attorney, Mr. Haller. But before you speak, David, if you can swear him in.
All persons seeking to address the board on this matter, can you please stand and raise your right hand? Thank you. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You especially, Tom? Okay.
Particularly me. Thank you, Mr. Warner. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, or good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Board. For the record, my name is Thomas Haller. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Gibbs & Haller, with offices here in Largo, and it's my pleasure today to be presenting this application to you. With me today, I have 2 representatives of the ownership entity, which is affiliated with a company called Standard Communities, and Ms. Madhvi Shukla and Mr. John McCall. And I do want to mention that because Standard Communities, while they have a substantial footprint in the Washington, D.C. region, are entering into the Prince George's County market. They have a couple of active projects, this being one, and they're very interested in other opportunities here in the county. For those that don't know, Standard Communities is a mission-driven company and a long-term owner of affordable housing projects. They have 28,000 units under management in 22 states around the country. And just in the DMV area, they have 4,000 units in 22 different communities. So they are a substantial entity that's committed to bringing more affordable housing projects to Prince George's County. And I do want to point out that this project reminds me somewhat of a duck. And what I mean by that is, on the surface, it looks like a pretty straightforward project, but the web feet are moving really fast underneath. This is a very complicated project because, as the Planning Board is no doubt aware, many of the metro stations are impacted by floodplain. This site is no different. You can see from the aerial photograph, the property extends from Old Landover Road to the entrance to the metro station. And Old Landover Road was, at one time, crossed the railroad tracks at grade, but with all of the other transportation improvements, eventually Route 202 was built and now goes to the south. When Route 202 was built, there was a storm drain pipe that was put under it that was not large enough to carry the 100-year storm. And what that creates is a backwater situation that not only impacts this property, it impacts Pensy Drive as well. And so there is a concern during a 100-year storm of the ability to even exit from the metro station. And so what Standard Communities has done is formed a partnership. They've entered into a joint development agreement with WMATA. They are acquiring 2 parcels, one of which is privately owned and the other of which is a portion of which is owned by WMATA. And you can see that the property actually extends across the tracks there. That's going to be retained by WMATA. That's the transportation use staff mentioned. But the property will be developed above the floodplain, accessed from the metro access driveway. No access will be provided directly from Old Landover Road. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out is that when a project is impacted by floodplain, one of the requirements that DPI has is to provide what's called dry passage. And what that means is in the event of a flood, people need to be able to get out and in, and emergency vehicles need to get out and in. The metro station right now in a 100-year flood is landlocked, can't get out. What this project will do is not only provide access to that driveway, but it will provide a bridge from the development to 202, which will allow emergency access not only for this building, but also for passengers or patrons at the metro station. So there is a huge public benefit that will occur from the development of this property. And it takes a company like Standard, large enough and sophisticated enough to be able to do that. So I can tell you that when they say it takes a village, this one does. We've been working with WMATA. We've been working with council members' office. We've been working with DPI. We've been working with your staff. You've been great to bring us to this point. As staff mentioned, there will be a detailed site plan that follows that will provide all of the details of the building and will include a dog run. I want you to know that. That's already baked into the design. And we will be bringing that back to you as soon as we can get it back to you. But again, I want to thank staff. I want to thank WMATA. I want to thank DPI for their work in reaching the point that we are today. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Very good.
I have none. I do have a comment, though. In terms of with Standard, I think this is a prime example of transit-oriented development. So I'm happy to see that.
Thank you very much. And to that point, everybody knows Pensy Drive. It's an industrial park. It's been an industrial park for 60 years. The master plan that was adopted in 2014 and the general plan wanted to see transit-oriented development, but it's difficult to do. And it took a partnership to make this happen, and it will be the first non-industrial development that occurs in proximity to this metro station.
Yeah, I would also like to compliment you and the applicant on the good work that's being done. I think that partnership with WMATA is that's phenomenal. I just couldn't imagine. As you were describing it, made me think back to Katrina, unfortunately.
But it's the only way it can
happen. We all know
happen.
what could happen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Sound like you're getting a lot of flowers today. If there are no other questions for Mr. Haller, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve preliminary plan 4-25006, TCP 1-013-2025, and variance to section 25-122B1G, subject to the conditions as outlined in staff's report.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you so much. We will now move on to the next agenda item, item number 9, preliminary plan of subdivision 4-24006, Oarsman of Bowie. Mr. Bartlett.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, I'm Jason Bartlett with the subdivision section. Item number 9 on the agenda is preliminary plan of subdivision 4-24006, titled Oarsman Genesis of Bowie. This subdivision proposes 2 parcels for 26,302 square feet of commercial development. This application is supported by an approved certificate of adequacy under case number ADQ-2024-006. As a matter of housekeeping, the additional backup includes 1 exhibit submitted by the applicant prior to Tuesday's noon deadline and is entered into the record as applicant's Exhibit 1. Applicant's Exhibit 1 is a request for revisions to 2 of the recommended conditions of approval that staff is in agreement with. In conclusion, based on the findings presented in the technical staff report, staff recommend that the Planning Board approve this preliminary plan of subdivision 4-24006 and Type 1 Tree Conservation Plan TCP 1-016-2025, subject to the findings and conditions in the technical staff report as revised by applicant's Exhibit 1. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Bartlett? Seeing none, we will now hear from the applicant's attorney, Mr. Antonetti. But before you speak, David, if you can swear him in.
Anyone wishing to address the board on this matter, either here or virtually, please stand, raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Board. For the record, my name is Robert Antonetti of the law firm of Shipley & Horn. Pleased to be here on behalf of the applicant in this case, Whitrow Bowie No. 1 LLC, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Oarsman Automotive Group. Today with me, we have Mr. Xavier Camacho virtually. He's Director of Facilities. We have Mr. Chris Rizzi from Bowler Engineering behind me, Mr. Mike Lenhart also in the audience, and Mr. Joe Heisler, architect, who's here virtually. I would like to thank Mr. Bartlett for his work on this case. He's a phenomenal professional. He's very interactive. He does an excellent job coordinating reviews of cases like this, and this is no exception. So I do want to publicly thank him and for all his efforts. This application is relatively straightforward. It's a preliminary plan of subdivision for 2 parcels that are zoned commercial. They've been used for decades for automotive purposes. If anybody's traveled up and down the US 301 corridor, you may have recognized that these are former used car dealerships and also I think an upholstery shop and some other ancillary automotive dealerships. Well, this applicant is taking this property and is looking to develop a brand new dealership, a luxury Genesis automotive brand, which would be a brand new to the Bowie area, and I think for the county, I think it would be the first Genesis dealership in the county. Interesting about this property as it moves forward, it is going to result in some improvements to the US 301. Most notably, it's going to result in the closure of the access points that stem off these properties currently. Everything is going to be channeled through the crossover, which is on the overhead slideshow before you. So that will increase safety and efficiency. There's also, in the certificate of adequacy, a review of a possible signal in southbound US 301 to help control traffic coming in and out, subject to the approval of SHA. And we look forward to continuing that signal analysis as part of the conditions of the certificate of adequacy. This dealership is going to have green building credentials. Part of the EV mandate statewide, it is being prepared as if it's ready to treat and service EV vehicles. It's going to have multiple level chargers, level 1, level 2, level 3, and it's also going to have particular repair bays designated just for EV repairs. It'll also have internal combustion engine repairs for vehicles that are sold under that as well. But it is, looking towards the future, so it's going to be an outlet for the point of sale for those types of vehicles. We did meet with the City of Bowie as part of this. We had Bowie Advisory Planning Board. We also met with the Mayor and City Council of Bowie. Both hearings, there was no opposition, and both bodies recommended approval of this application. The city is looking for opportunities to expand its commercial tax base, and we are within the boundaries of the municipal boundaries of the City of Bowie. We did reach out to several other community associations as part of this development, and it's in coordination with our friends with GS Proctor and Associates, with Ms. Jackie Brown and Mr. Monroe Harrison are also here. I regret not introducing them earlier. But all in all, this has been a well-supported application. We look forward to hopefully bringing it out of the ground in the near future and providing a nice commercial outlet for a new luxury automotive brand in the county. I do support staff's position on the minor recommended condition changes in Applicant's Exhibit 1. And with that, we respectfully request your support, and our team is here to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Antonetti? I just have one. the businesses that are on that property now, what's going to happen to them?
Right now, it is owned by our client, and they utilize it for storage of vehicles. So, they are the businesses that are there, the Oarsman Automotive Group. They own the dealerships that are across the road, which is the Jeep dealership and a Hyundai dealership. So, those prior occupants are no longer taking occupancy of those spaces.
Fair enough. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve preliminary plan 4-24006 and TCP 1-016-2025, subject to the conditions as outlined in staff's report and is further modified by applicant exhibit number 1.
Second?
It's been properly moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you so much. We will now move on to the next agenda item, item number 10. Countywide Planning Division MRF 2024-002 Kirby Road Community Solar. Ms. Walker.
Hello, Mr. Chair and members of the board. For the record, my name is Tania Walker with the Special Projects Section. This case is for the mandatory referral, MRF-2024-002, Kirby Road Solar. The applicant proposes to construct a 3.76-acre floating solar array on an approximately 136-acre parcel to include a 6-foot tall chain link fence and related electrical equipment. Can we advance to slide 12, please? The proposed solar array will be placed over a current excavated stormwater management pond, which is located on an active sand and gravel mine on a brownfield site. The proposed solar array will stand no more than 2 feet off the surface of the pond and will be anchored to the pond floor and on the shore. All electrical equipment will be mounted on the shore, and the fence will surround the solar site, as well as the mounted onshore electrical equipment. The 25-foot wide vehicular ingress and egress is located on Kirby Road, and the solar facility is extensively screened and buffered from adjoining properties. Prior to the Tuesday 12 o'clock noon deadline, the applicant submitted an exhibit entitled Exhibit 1 to address community outreach. Staff recommend that the planning board adopt the recommendations and transmit them to the applicant. This concludes staff's presentation.
Are there any questions for Ms. Walker?
None.
Seeing none, we will now hear from the applicant's attorney, Mr. Tedesco. Once again, if, David, you can swear him in.
I don't believe this is an evidentiary hearing. Yeah.
Okay.
I still do promise to tell the truth. I think I took that oath, Mr. Warner. Good afternoon again, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Board, Matthew Tedesco, the law firm McNamee Hosey in Greenbelt, here on behalf of Centennial Solar 29 LLC, a subsidiary of Centennial Generating Company LLC. Although not with us, but had intended to be here in person, Mr. Rennie Friedman unfortunately became ill yesterday, but he is joining us virtually. We asked him to join us virtually and keep his germs with himself. So, but he is here nonetheless virtually. With us as well from Bowman Consulting, who are the civil engineers for the project. We have Brad Glatfelder and Greg Elberly. I want to thank Ms. Walker and Special Projects for their review of this application. This is a mandatory referral. This is not an evidentiary hearing. I think the board is quite familiar with these solar projects under mandatory referral and understand the role in which the planning board plays in these applications. You are not an approval authority body with respect to these applications, but we are here before you to get staff as well as your recommendations associated with these projects. The state is actually, through not only legislation but case law, has preempted local zoning authorities over these types of cases. However, and nevertheless, the board has previously adopted SES guidelines for which all these applications must uniformly adhere to and your staff review. Your staff has gone through that review in quite detail. We did provide a mandatory referral narrative similar to a justification statement, which we would further submit incorporate and adopt as our additional presentation before you. I was before this board a couple of months ago on a community solar project, for which this is another community solar project approved through the Public Service Commission. And that one was on a farmland, but the uniqueness of that one, although the board and the staff has always recommended grazing, that particular one is the first one that I'm aware of that actually had sheep grazing as a agreed upon negotiated agreement between the farmer and my client in that case. That what I believe was the first of its kind, and I know the direction that the board had been going in with some of these solar projects related to farmland. I stand before you this afternoon with another first. Definitely the first in the county, I believe, and my client can correct me if I'm wrong, but I also believe it's the first in the state, for which this is a floating community solar array. And although somewhat difficult to see because the stormwater facility associated with the existing sand and gravel mining operation being conducted on the property appears to be a greenish color in that slide, so it looks almost comparable to the green areas surrounding the property. But the stormwater facility is that body of water that's directly in the center of this property. The array, I think that Ms. Walker provided on slide 12 shows how this array will actually float on that body of water. So there is no real ground disturbance associated with this. Obviously, this property has significant ground disturbance, being a sand and gravel mining operation conducted by the property owner, but it will be anchored to the bottom of the pond as well as to the side of the pond. There's very little impervious improvements being made. There's slight associated with the inverters and some of the equipment associated with the solar array, but particularly given that this is a floating solar array, it is very unique and I think somewhat a wave of the future, so to speak, with respect to how do we balance the need for green energy, the need for solar, also with the need of preserving agricultural land, forestry, and the like. So I want to compliment my client. I want to commend the engineers, and obviously where this is going in the future is quite impressive to be able to provide these arrays on a floating facility in an otherwise stormwater facility. So it's kind of serving a dual purpose here with stormwater management associated with the sand and gravel mining operation, but as well as giving back to the community solar, which obviously I think you all are very familiar with the community solar program through the state, which was originally a pilot program but has now since been elevated to a permanent program, for which many residents, not only of this county but the state, are getting the benefits of those. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I do believe there is one citizen here signed up, so I will probably reserve additional time to respond until after she has an opportunity to speak. But we do acknowledge staff's recommendations. One of the recommendations deals with landscaping. I do just want to highlight the fact, your indulgence, sorry, just for your benefit, and this is provided in the materials, but I think it bears repeating. The array being central to the property, again, surrounded by an existing Class 3, does make this property a brownfield, which is your highest priority for siting of solar arrays in the county. The array itself is 1,609 feet from the northern property boundary and 1,788 feet from the closest residential home to the north of Kirby Road. It is 590 feet from the eastern property boundary line and 769 feet from the closest residential home to the east. It's 1,552 feet from the southern property boundary and 1,623 from the closest home to the south. And it is 448 feet from the western property boundary and 1,363 feet from the closest residential home to the west. It is significantly screened and buffered, if by anything, existing topography, distance, but also the existing ongoing activities of the property that surround this. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll reserve any additional comments, but happy to answer any questions, and thank you for your indulgence.
Are there any questions of Mr. Tedesco at this time?
I have no questions, just a comment. This is the type of land area that I think is ideal for solar. So before in terms of agriculture, I'm always reticent about that, but this is a good use for that land. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. We would agree, and I did want to just comment with Centennial. Centennial does have an ongoing working relationship with Wholesome, who has many sand and gravel operations within the county. So hopefully we'll see more of these and these types of dual use capacities going forward. I know that's a direction that the board would like to see us go in. So thank you so much, Commissioner.
I believe that there is one who has signed up in opposition, Ms. Harris. You can come on up. If you can state your name and where you live.
Good day, everyone. Good day, planning board members and others. My name is Mrs. Janez Harris. I go by Mrs. Harris. My address also?
We could hardly hear you, actually. I can hardly hear you.
What about now?
That's
Okay,
much better.
awesome. Good day, everyone. Planning board members and others. My name is Mrs. Janez Harris. I go by Mrs. Harris. My address also, or because this is public domain?
You just say to your city.
Clinton. I am a resident in the District 9, and I live in that area. The installation of more solar panels at Kirby Road can contribute to the local community temperature rising significantly due to the heat being absorbed and released back out as radiation by the solar panels. This change of the area within where the park resides can have several negative consequences, both for the environment and North Clinton residents. Solar panels work by absorbing sunlight to generate energy. This process also causes them to heat up. In large-scale solar parks, the extensive surface area of the panels can absorb a significant amount of sunlight during the day. While the panels convert sunlight into electricity, they also reflect and release back out as radiation energy, heating up the surrounding areas, including increasing local temperatures. The increase in temperature due to this heat buildup is damaging the surface trees in the area. There is a park, there is a panel on the left side that if anyone go out and can see that the trees are being damaged by what is the panels, the solar panels there now. The cooling benefits. The cooling benefits that natural green spaces like trees and parks provide is compromised by the heat radiation of solar panels, which can negate some of the benefits of solar parks are meant to bring. The solution is to integrate solar parks that are being proposed with parking lots, please, not around houses. This wonderful illustration shows where there is a school, James Rander, Stephen Decatur, that is going to be impacted by these solar panels. Thank you for listening, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak as a resident that lives in this area that will be impacted. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Ms. Harris, I want to say thank you for coming out today, and more importantly, thank you for speaking up and advocating.
Yes.
Right? It's important that we hear from everybody and every side.
Yes.
And I think you did an outstanding job that you should go back to your community and let them know that you were fighting for them.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. If there's no other questions for Ms. Harris, Mr. Tedesco.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ms. Harris. I would echo the chairman's words. Thank you so much for coming this afternoon and for speaking. Certainly intend to share my contact information so we can continue the dialogue with Ms. Harris. We did have a community meeting, and that material was provided in the backup back on April 23rd with the North Clinton Citizens Association and Cambridge Estates community. I understand Ms. Harris had reached out to staff and her community just recently registered with the Planning Commission to start receiving notices of not only these applications but other applications. So I hopefully look forward to working with Ms. Harris in the future. I did just want to just make two minor points of clarification just for the board's edification. Notwithstanding Ms. Harris' comments, my client has advised that, again, somewhat of a newer technology with these solar arrays being over water, but actually what they're finding is that with arrays over water, it actually has the opposite effect from some of the effects that Ms. Harris was talking about with respect to some of the heat. I don't think it's radiation. I think maybe it's heat radiating from some of the solar panels. The radiation is actually not something that is found to have been a significant health issue associated with these panels. In fact, if anything, the non-ionizing EMFs that come from these are no different than what we all experience in our households with our microwaves, or currently, as we sit here today, in our pockets with our cell phones. The World Health Organization, WHO, and other health bodies have found through various studies that there is no evidence of direct link between low levels of EMF and adverse health effects associated with solar arrays, even on a large scale as this. I would note, however, we would not consider this a large-scale solar array. It's less than 2 megawatts. Some of the larger scale ones are 5 and above. But nevertheless, some of the impacts and the effects, I'm not going to discredit Ms. Harris as far as what she may be experiencing with other solar arrays in the area or in the county associated with them. I'm not familiar with them. I will take her at her word, but we are finding that with these arrays throughout the country, when we put them over water, it actually has a minimizing effect of creating any of, I'll call it a heat island effect for my own ignorance of not knowing the more technical terms. But so I feel with this one, and in particular, as I mentioned before, Ms. Harris made comments about the proximity to houses and the schools. I think we've articulated that there is significant distance between this array and the existing homes, completely surrounded by an existing sand and gravel facility. So with that, Mr. Chairman, again, I thank Ms. Harris for her advocacy, for coming down, and I look forward to hopefully working with her in the future. But I hope that answers any questions you all may have with any of the comments that were raised and the concerns that were raised. And with that, we would welcome your recommendation in this case and your hopeful authorization to transmit the letter to the applicant. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Tedesco?
No.
I have none.
I just have one. I think what would be helpful for Ms. Harris, as well as to the commissioners, that is if there's any information that you can provide her about their solar arrays and her concern that is in print, that way she can read that and understand that.
Yep.
I think it would better calm her fears of those solar arrays. And I think for our own edification of the planning board, if you can pass that information on to us as well.
Yes.
I think now we are more informed and more in tune, and at the end of the day, I think it would give some comfort to Ms. Harris. One, that we are listening to her and we are providing her with factual data to combat her fears. And I think she can then take that back to her family, her community, in which you will now have more of a support of the community.
Absolutely. Excellent advice. I will email that to Ms. Walker. I believe, I don't have Ms. Harris' email, but I believe with her signing up today, she may have provided that to staff. So I trust that if I could be copied on that, but I will send that information to staff.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Mr. Chair, with regards to the solar panel, what little I know, it's a different type of radiation, so it's non-ionizing radiation that's emitted, the same kind that's emitted, as Mr. Tedesco said, from microwave or other appliances at home.
Yeah.
So it's not the type of radiation that damages cells or DNA or anything.
And that's fine. I just want to make sure that she has that information
Right.
and she feels most comfortable.
We have those reports. I'll send those to staff.
That's
Thank you
great.
so much.
Yes, sir.
See, Ms. Harris, you're winning. All right. If there's no other comments, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the recommendations of staff and approve the transmittal of MRF-2024-002 to the applicant, Centennial Generating Company, LLC.
Second?
It's been properly moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you both so much. We will now move on to the next agenda item, item number 11. Request for reconsideration hearing for preliminary plan of subdivision 4-24013, Saddle Ridge. David?
Thank you, Chair Barnes. David Warner, Principal Counsel. This matter and the next matter both received a request for reconsideration on August 19th. You'll see that in your staff report. Filed at the same time for both cases, but the cases are addressed separately on our agenda. Subsequent to the filing of the request for reconsideration on September 5th, a petition for judicial review was filed in the circuit court on this same case. And pursuant to Maryland case law, the jurisdiction for this matter now moves to the circuit court. We do not have jurisdiction to hear the case, and so staff is recommending disapproval of the reconsideration request.
Yeah. Are there any questions of David?
None.
Nope.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt staff's recommendation and disapprove the request for reconsideration request for preliminary plan 4-24013.
Second. Is it one?
Yep.
Okay.
It's been properly moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We will now move on to item number 12. Request for reconsideration hearing for preliminary plans of subdivision 4-24014, Dobson Farm. David?
Similar to item number 11, the same reconsideration request was received on August 19th. The only slight difference in the Dobson Farm case is the petition for judicial review was filed the day prior to the one in Saddle Ridge on September 4th, but the outcome is the same. The board no longer has jurisdiction to hear the reconsideration request, and staff's recommended disapproval.
Are there any questions of David?
Nope.
Seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the recommendation of staff and disapprove the request for reconsideration of preliminary plan 4-24014.
Second?
It's been properly moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you so much. We will now move on to the next agenda item, item number 13, Community Planning Division, Central Avenue, Blue Silver Line Sector Plan and Sectional Map Amendment. We will now hear from staff.
Yes, thank you. And good afternoon, Chairman Barnes and members of the board. For the record, I'm Bill Skabinski with the Long Range Planning Section, and I'm joined by Elena Perry, also with the Long Range Planning Section. During this presentation, we will provide a brief overview of the geographic scope and context of the plan area. Then Elena will take us through what we accomplished during the public participation program, share key policy recommendations, and present urban design visualizations for the plan's focus areas. I'll then outline proposed implementation items such as future land use designations and recommended zoning changes. We'll conclude with the anticipated timeline and then open the floor for questions.
Could you move your microphone, turn it towards you?
Sure. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Next slide, please. And next slide, please. So plan overview. Next slide, please. The sector plan area outlined by the solid black line lies just east of the Washington, D.C. border and within the Capitol Beltway. It is bisected by Central Avenue and the Metro Blue Silver Line corridor, which serves as key transit and development anchors. Key locations within the plan area include the city of Seat Pleasant, shown in orange, a portion of the town of Capitol Heights, shown in yellow, and the Capitol Heights, Addison Road, Seat Pleasant, and Morgan Boulevard metro stations, and the Northwest Stadium. Although the map displays 4 metro stations, the Largo station, just outside the Beltway, is excluded from the plan's boundary. This is because Largo already has an approved plan, along with the necessary zoning to support its implementation. Now I'll turn it over to Elena.
Next slide, please. All right, thank you, Bill. So I'll jump into a summary of the public participation program. These are communities that have really felt left out in the planning process historically, so we made sure that we were intentional with reaching out in new ways to try to ensure that their desires were included. And because of how many times community members have participated in similar planning projects in the past, our team expected resistance and frustration to community engagement efforts for this project, but people were fairly receptive of the information and willing to meet with us. Next slide, please. So our team provided a variety of methods for people to engage with us that you can see listed on this slide. During the implementation of the public participation program period, our team attended events, handed out and gathered information, asked and answered questions, shared existing conditions information, and ultimately found out what residents like and dislike about the area. We maintained multiple feedback loops, especially with municipal mayors and councils, where we updated them about every milestone to get their input. During meetings and events, we consistently heard about the need for a grocery store or more fresh food access, new business and retail options, traffic calming and safety infrastructure, and recreation activities, especially for youth and seniors. Overall, we estimate that we interacted with over 1,000 people throughout all of our efforts. Next slide, please. So now I will highlight some key policy recommendations from the draft plan element chapters that try to address challenges and capitalize upon opportunities identified during the research and community engagement phases of the project. Next slide. For land use, the area is predominantly low-density single-family residential and needs targeted rezoning and land consolidation efforts to support more diverse development and maximize the potential for transit-oriented development within walking distance of metro stations. For economic prosperity, reinvestment is needed in key corridors like the Martin Luther King Jr. Highway, Old Central Avenue, and Central Avenue, focusing on revitalizing retail spaces, promoting small businesses, and strengthening workforce development initiatives to drive economic growth. For transportation and mobility, the area lacks strong infrastructure for non-motorized transportation, and pedestrian safety is a concern. So policies in this chapter focus on developing a connected network of paths and sidewalks and improving road safety through traffic calming measures on key streets. For natural environment, policies in this chapter focus on investing in water quality and stormwater infrastructure, establishing conservation easements, and prioritizing the redevelopment of existing sites to preserve undeveloped sites. Next slide, please. For housing in neighborhoods, there is insufficient housing variety and inventory across different price points. So policies in this chapter focus on developing diverse and affordable housing types, especially infill development, for individuals of all ages and abilities. For community heritage, culture, and design, public spaces should reflect a cohesive community identity, especially as the area grows. So policies in this chapter focus on celebrating the area's history and culture through placemaking, branding, and urban design that strengthen social ties and community pride and incorporate crime prevention through environmental design principles. For healthy communities, no large grocery retailers serve the planned area, and there is a healthcare investment gap, particularly in these inner Beltway communities. So policies in this chapter think about a connected food oasis network to improve fresh food access and prioritize investments in healthcare infrastructure here to address community need. For public facilities, public safety concerns must be addressed, and additional investment is needed for neighborhood growth projects, including parks and recreation facilities. So policies in this chapter identify where to expand and upgrade parks and recreation areas and additional public facilities to support economic development and enhance community services. Next slide, please. So now we'll go through the focus areas of the draft sector plan, including the areas around the metro stations, the neighborhood retail revitalization corridors, and new centers. Next slide. So starting in the eastern portion of the plan area, the Morgan Boulevard Regional Transit District encompasses approximately 564 acres. Anchoring the district is the metro station, which was completed in 2004. The station has already catalyzed residential development to the north and east, while open land to the south and west presents new possibilities for innovative land use. The vision for this area is of a regional entertainment hub with supporting residential and commercial uses. Originally designated as a local transit center in Plan 2035, the draft sector plan recommends changing the designation to a regional transit district. The plan also recommends expanding the boundary to the southwest along Maryland 214 Central Avenue to its intersection with Hill Road, and deleting a portion of the boundary that is forest and stormwater ponds. Next slide, please. So here you can see the site plan, bird's eye view, and street level view renderings showing a walkable transit-oriented area centered around the metro station with a tree-lined greenway and new mixed-use buildings. Ground floor retail and residential units above rise tallest near the station, gradually tapering towards Central Avenue. A redesigned station plaza features seating, landscaping, public art, and a proposed food hall activating the space for residents and commuters. Plans also include a performance amphitheater for cultural programming. Mixed-use development could extend northwest into Hill Road Park, creating an active, transit-oriented setting completely surrounding the station. This expansion would support the Central Avenue Connector Trail as it follows the rail right-of-way, while balancing the need to protect regulated environmental features. Design, branding, placemaking, and wayfinding elements could highlight themes of farming, Ridgely Gray family history, and inventor Garrett A. Morgan and other African-American inventors. Next slide, please. So jumping to the far west portion of the plan area along the DC line, the Capitol Heights Local Transit Center, covering a portion of the town of Capitol Heights Municipality, encompasses approximately 177 acres and is currently characterized by low-density residential development. Although the metro station has been operational since 1980, growth in the surrounding area has been modest, resulting in many vacant and underutilized parcels that present opportunities for redevelopment into housing, retail, and community-focused spaces, strengthening the small-town character. The draft plan recommends expanding the local transit center boundary slightly along the DC line. And the draft sector plan identifies Old Central Avenue corridor as a neighborhood retail revitalization focus area. Next slide, please. So building upon WMATA's intention to develop the metro parking lot at this station, 6 to 7 story mixed-use buildings integrate residential units with ground floor retail along Maryland 214 East Capitol Street that gradually step down to 3 to 4 story buildings and townhouses near established single-family neighborhoods. Over time, existing residential parcels may transition into duplexes, triplexes, or garden apartments, contributing to the infill and a broader and more inclusive range of housing options. Watts Branch serves as an ecological centerpiece of the center to establish a linear park or greenway that links north to south, while the Central Avenue Connector Trail will further reinforce east to west connectivity. Old Central Avenue would be a neighborhood-focused corridor anchored by Capitol Heights municipal buildings and public plazas. Next slide, please. So adjacent to Capitol Heights to the east, the Addison Road Local Transit Center spans approximately 237 acres, and although the Addison Road Metro Station has been in operation since 1980, development in the surrounding area has remained limited. As a result, numerous vacant and underutilized parcels present strong potential for transformation, and the draft plan recommends expanding the local transit center boundary slightly east along Maryland 214. Next slide, please. The area surrounding the metro station could have a mix of housing and amenities, diversity of dining and shopping options, and be a destination for locals and visitors. 6 to 7-story mixed-use buildings could be concentrated near the station along Maryland 214 and replace the existing Addison Plaza Strip shopping center. Building heights would step down gradually to townhouses and low-rise buildings closer to single-family homes, and Addison Road becomes a safe north-to-south connection, and the Central Avenue Connector Trail strengthens the east-to-west regional connections, promoting multimodal transportation across the area. Next slide, please. So focusing now on the northeast portion of the planned area, which is anchored by the Northwest Stadium, formerly FedEx Field. The site currently hosts major concerts, sporting events, and home games for the Washington Commanders football team. Given the uncertainty about what the team would choose to do after their lease ends in 2027, our team drafted 2 scenarios for the approximately 281-acre large opportunity site. This is not currently identified as a center in Plan 2035, but the draft sector plan recommends creating a new town center here. And this town center would not have direct access to transit and would instead be more auto-oriented like Westphalia or Cantera, but would still incorporate a dense mix of uses. Next slide, please. So in the first scenario, a stadium is rebuilt in a different spot on the site. A vibrant, walkable, mixed-use sports and entertainment district centered around the stadium creates an exciting game day experience and helps bring life to the area on non-game days. Supporting residential uses are woven throughout, and building heights taper down to existing neighborhoods. A pedestrian-only game day promenade serves as the district's centerpiece, linking the stadium with surrounding retail, dining, and public gathering spaces with team-themed wayfinding signs, public art, and street furniture to enrich the visitor experience. Next slide. In this second scenario, if the team relocates, the draft plan calls for replacing the existing stadium with a regional recreation complex to support amateur sports, recreation, and wellness uses. An indoor facility and variety of fields would support what is already available at the Sports and Learning Complex, and around the perimeter, a variety of recreational attractions such as go-kart tracks, BMX trails, sand volleyball courts, and pickleball facilities would provide year-round excitement and cater to residents and visitors of all ages. A circular plaza would become a defining placemaking feature surrounded by ground floor retail, dining options, hotel accommodations, and wellness-oriented services. To the north, multifamily residential buildings would anchor the recreational core, gradually transitioning to townhomes and mixed-use buildings near the site's edges to maintain compatibility with nearby neighborhoods. Next slide, please. So jumping back to the northwestern portion of the plan area, just like Old Central Avenue, Martin Luther King Jr. Highway is designated as a neighborhood retail focus area in the draft plan. This focus area encompasses about a quarter-mile section of the 4-lane roadway, about 44 acres made up of a mix of fragmented residential, commercial, and institutional uses, many vacant or underutilized. Next slide, please. The draft plan recommends 3 to 4-story mixed-use buildings with frontage closer to the roadway and ground floor retail services and amenities to create a pedestrian-friendly environment. The scale of density here would be less when compared to around the metro stations, with the need to balance trade-offs as the plan focuses on transit-oriented development at those metro stations. This corridor would be anchored by pocket parks, plazas, public art, and culturally significant landmarks, and commercial facade and streetscape improvements, including targeted tree planting, would enhance the overall look and feel. And then extending the WB&A trail to the DC line would provide a designated active transportation network. And now I'll pass it back to Bill.
Next slide. And thank you, Elena. And now I'll provide an overview of some of the proposals to support implementation of the plan. Next slide, please. Here's the proposed future land use map, which reflects a diverse mix of uses designed to support vibrant, sustainable growth. Residential areas are highlighted in the yellow and orange colors and offer a range of housing options throughout the community. Commercial areas, shown in red, are located along key corridors like Central Avenue and Martin Luther King Jr. Highway. These areas support retail, services, and employment opportunities. Open space, shown in green, preserves natural areas and provides essential recreational opportunities for residents. Industrial uses, shown in gray, are concentrated in designated areas to support light manufacturing and logistics, helping to drive economic development while minimizing impacts on residential areas. Finally, mixed-use areas in purple are centered around metro stations and the stadium property. These areas represent the most transformative aspects of the plan, promoting walkable, transit-oriented communities that blend higher density residential, retail, and office space. Next slide, please. Now we're going to look at the existing zoning map. Residential zones, shown in yellow and orange colors, make up much of the area, supporting a range of housing types and neighborhood densities. Transit-oriented zones, highlighted in pink, are concentrated around metro stations, encouraging walkable mixed-use communities with easy access to public transportation. Commercial zones, though currently limited, are shown in red, and as part of the proposed updates, select industrial areas and key locations are being considered for rezoning to expand commercial opportunities, especially along major corridors and transit hubs, to better support retail, services, and employment growth. Again, those industrial areas in gray are primarily located in the eastern portion near the Capitol Beltway, with a small area along Martin Luther King Jr. Highway. Lastly, the stadium property falls within the Legacy Comprehensive Design Zone, represented by the light brown color. This zone ensures properties continue to develop in accordance with prior approvals, development entitlements, and procedures. Next slide, please. This map illustrates the proposed zoning changes included in the sectional map amendment. Some key highlights include expanding the transit-oriented zones. These are the areas shown in pink that represent additional transit-oriented zones around metro stations. Notably, the dark pink local transit core around Addison Shopping Center is intended to offer greater flexibility for redevelopment. Morgan Boulevard is proposed to shift from a local transit center to a regional transit district, which introduces a regional transit-oriented zone shown in purple, with a darker purple core surrounding the metro station and a lighter purple edge extending outward. This zone would allow for the highest density in the area, especially within the core. As Elena mentioned earlier, the stadium property is proposed to be designated as a Plan 2035 Town Center, allowing it to be rezoned from the Legacy Comprehensive Design Zone to the Town Activity Center Zone, shown in blue. This will allow for a mix of recreational and residential uses that align with the plan's vision for the site. Lastly, select properties along Martin Luther King Jr. Highway are proposed to be rezoned from industrial employment to commercial neighborhood, and this shift supports revitalization efforts and aims to establish a vibrant, community-serving retail hub. Next slide, please. This map, featured in the Transportation and Mobility chapter, illustrates the network of master plan roadways along with design recommendations for width, lane count, speed limits, medians or turn lanes, parking, sidewalks, bike lanes, and shared use paths. These components embody complete street principles aimed at enhancing safety, accessibility, and multimodal connectivity throughout the plan area. Each roadway is assigned a functional classification to ensure its design supports intended use and aligns with expected driver behavior. Next slide, please. This map highlights the proposed pedestrian and cyclist infrastructure along key streets, illustrating a variety of context-sensitive interventions, and these include shared roadways, shown in purple, which mark routes where pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists coexist. Side paths, shown in green, are widened, paved routes adjacent to roadways accompanying both cyclists and pedestrians. And bike lanes, shown in red, may be painted directly on the roadway or physically separated from traffic for added safety. This map also identifies new sidewalks and crosswalks strategically placed to close gaps in the pedestrian network and improve overall connectivity. Next slide, please. This map, featured in the Community Heritage Culture and Design chapter, highlights potential sites for placemaking activations aimed at celebrating local identity and enriching public life. These locations are envisioned as gateways, vibrant gathering spaces such as plazas and parklets, canvases for public art, and hubs for community-driven uses like urban farming. Each activation is designed to foster inclusive, engaging environments that strengthen neighborhood character. Next slide, please. This map, featured in the Public Facilities chapter, illustrates proposed park types throughout the corridor. These include fixed parks with defined boundaries and floating parks, which offer more flexible placement within general areas. Highlighted in red are greenways, including a proposed linear park stretching from the Capitol Heights Metro Station to the town city hall. Additional examples include public spaces near the Morgan Boulevard Metro Station, a plaza at the Addison Road Seat Pleasant Metro Station, and potential redevelopment at the Addison Plaza Shopping Center. Many of these parks are designed to connect with the Central Avenue Connector Trail, creating a cohesive, accessible network of green spaces that enhance mobility, recreation, and community engagement throughout the corridor. Next slide, please. Now I'll provide a brief overview of the anticipated timeline. Next slide, please. We are currently at the public release of the preliminary plan stage, and the joint public hearing is anticipated in early 2026. Planning board adoption is expected to follow in late winter or spring of 2026, and council approval is projected for late spring 2026. Next slide, please. So this concludes our presentation, and staff respectfully requests that the planning board grant permission to print the preliminary Central Avenue Blue Silver Line sector plan and proposed sectional map amendment, and to transmit the public facilities referral to the county executive. We also welcome any questions you may have. Thank you for your time and consideration, and we look forward to continuing our collaboration throughout the approval process. Thank you.
Well, Bill, let me just tell you thank you. You guys did a great job, and it definitely takes a team to put this together and make it all happen. So I thank you all
Sure does,
both
sir.
for your presentation and the rest of the team members. Are there any questions from the planning board?
No, but I just want to share in your comments. It was a great job.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
It's a good opportunity there with the stadium and everything.
Something we can definitely look forward to, being that there is no one in opposition to what you said.
One comment. In addition to associating myself with my colleagues' comments, because the district DC District Council voted yesterday to approve that stadium,
Yep.
how does that impact this, if at all?
Well, that remains to be seen. As far as the preliminary plan is concerned, we'll have to evaluate kind of really what's going on and kind of make a decision. It could lead to maybe some
But
modifications.
as that evolves, we've got the opportunity to ensure that, okay, good.
Yes, absolutely.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a motion, Ms. Washington?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the recommendations of staff and grant permission to print the preliminary Central Avenue Blue Silver Line sector plan and proposed SMA, and to transmit the preliminary Central Avenue Blue Silver Line sector plan and proposed SMA, and refer the public facilities report to the county executive, district council, and affected municipalities for their review and identification of public facilities inconsistencies, in addition to granting permission to transmit a copy of the preliminary Central Avenue Blue Silver Line sector plan and proposed SMA to the health department to perform a health impact assessment.
Second?
It's been properly moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. This concludes all items on today's agenda. I want to thank the staff and everyone for coming out. The meeting is now adjourned.